Good morning, friends and neighbors of the Hapeville channel. Dewey here. It's another beautiful morning, and good morning. Good to see you. And it's really pretty out today. And that guy's headed to work at City Hall, and he just said, "Hello, Dewey." That's nice. So I'm in the municipal parking lot, and I'm gonna drop my coat off because it felt a lot colder, pardon me, than it actually is. So it's sweater weather right now, but we'll take another little walk. Good morning, Matina. I'm in the municipal parking lot, and right behind me is City Hall. And here are the new Clyde condos. So we're gonna walk in this direction today, along what formerly used to be Stuart and that area, Dogwood. I'm particularly fascinated with that area because of its original purpose. And what I mean by that is the fact that before Highway 75 and Highway 85 came through and chopped the town off and blocked us in on both sides, the way that people got to all points south was by the Old Dixie Highway. And down here, the portion of Old Dixie Highway was actually Stuart. So people going from, you could go from Detroit, Michigan, all the way down to Miami. And when you did that, I'm sure there were other routes, but this was a very popular route. It would bring you right through Hapeville. And that was a big reason why Hapeville, particularly along the corridor here that we're about to look at, and when you turn left at the train tracks where Central is, right through downtown, it was a boom time because all motorists from the beginning of the advent of the automobile, they came right through Hapeville, and it was an economic boom for this town. It's not like that anymore because, as has happened in many small towns across our nation, when the superhighways happened, cars just pass right by all these small towns and they die. And that happened to Hapeville. Hapeville's decline was a combination of that, you know, the highways coming through, and then almost at exactly the same time, the airport eating up half the town. So the fact that Hapeville is even here now is a miracle. So I love to look over there where all the old service stations and gas stations and little side stores used to be, and think about that. Right now I'm standing by these two houses. This is 600 and 606 King Arnold, and I'm right across from the condos here. But as many of you know, there used to be a little strip of businesses here and then more here. But these are now the admin. Both of these houses are used for admin offices for the fire department. And of course, the fire department's right back there behind me. So let's walk this way. I think I'm gonna go down Estelle Street, because it's really interesting. Good morning, Suzanne. Nice to see you. Just taking a little walk around a different area of Hapeville today. Here are the condos up close. These are the 3-story ones. So we're right at the corner of Estelle and King Arnold. And now, back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, I forget which church it was, but there was a church on this corner. And then I think they moved it down there. I'm not sure. I've read it a million times in the history book, but I keep forgetting. But this sidewalk is new. These are new. This is the back of what used to be Universal Motors. We'll see that from the front, and you'll get to see the new mural that was put on there a couple of years ago. Lots of different businesses have been in there. Back in the 60s, I found an ad for a hair salon, a really cool ad for a hair salon that was in there. Now it's Allen Electric Company. Also, I discovered that back in the 60s, during the there was a time frame, very brief time frame, where trampoline parks were a big deal. So a local family opened a trampoline park right here, and I saw it in an aerial photograph that was taken in 1959. So it was the late 50s, early 60s. These trampoline parks were all the rage, and kids would go and jump in trampolines. That would never happen now, insurance-wise. Good morning, Sandra. So we're gonna walk down Estelle Street, and Estelle is still quiet. I always think it's interesting that this little neighborhood here has always been right off Dogwood / Stuart. So they've always, at least in recent memory, been behind businesses over here. And it's still the case. And this woman, I met her the other day. I don't remember her name, but her house is now directly behind this townhome. These townhomes are in four, sorry about the sun, they're in 4 phases. There's 1 down there, 2, and then 3, 4 back here. But look at, so here's this big townhome, and then, oh, hi, kitty. And then look at this gorgeous little original Hapeville house, and she's right behind this wall of a townhome now. Oh, she's got 3 little kittens sitting out here. I've forgotten her name, but she's at 3424. But isn't that the most adorable little house, you guys? If I could get the sun to stop shining, you could see it. This is 3424 Estelle. Trying to get the sun behind that branch. And there we go. And you can see her house like that. And so this is the back of what used to be Universal Motors. And my friend Kate Rocket now, she has a business, a bike shop up in Little Five Points called Outback Bikes. And she is bringing it down here to Hapeville. And so she has got this. And she's painted all these doors yellow. And that is her warehouse. And so if you're in Hapeville and for the holidays you are looking to buy a bike, come here. And she will help you out. She is right now trying to purchase that building that used to be Russell's Dry Cleaning. But they've cleaned it up a lot back here. The city, this used to be quite a mess, a lot of junk back here, but they finally cleaned it up, and I'm glad to see that. I hope it continues. So we're walking down Estelle. Good morning, David Underwood. Good morning, Michelle. How are you, my friend? It's funny when I walk around Hapeville now and I look at these old properties and I see this wonderful house and all this land, I go, well, that person's sitting on a gold mine right now. They'll probably end up selling that and putting a huge monster house there. This is 3412. Now this house right here, there's a porta potty in front. I don't know why. This is 3408. This house, well, first of all, I don't know that it's true because I haven't been able to confirm it, but somebody told me that this was the church that used to be down on the corner and then they moved it. There was a fire at one point back in the 40s, I think it was, and the church burned. I'm not so sure that's true. This looks like it was built originally as an old duplex, but you never know. You look at it and go, oh, that could have been a church. But I do know for a fact in this building in 3408, back in 1995, there was a double murder. Dun, dun, dun. Very, very unfortunate. 2 people were murdered in here, and then the house was set on fire. Luckily, the Hapeville Police Department got here in time and put the fire out. But they're definitely renovating this side. I'd have to look at the article again. I don't know if the fire was on this side of the duplex or that side. I want to say that side, but I'm not sure. But that was way back in 95. So there we go. We got a family going off to school. Look at this one. This one looks similar to the house I live on Walnut Street. This is 3405 and 3401. This is obviously, this one was built probably in the 50s if I had to guess. Look how pretty the tree is, you guys. The trees are starting to turn. Now, this house over here that these people just left from, I did a post about this house. There's a really interesting story about it. And I posted that. About scandal and a Hollywood starlet that lived in that house. So if you go on the Hapeville channel and search in the search box Hollywood or, I can't remember any other keywords, but this is 576 Marina, because we are on Marina now. But back in the day, this was 10 Marina. And a really cool story attached to that house. Hi, Lavonda Ivy Gibbs. Good morning. Oh, you're finally catching me live. Well, here I am. I am now at the intersection of Estelle and Marina Street. Beside this beautiful tree, the trees have started to turn. But I like Marina Street. My research tells me that at some point it was called Marino, like way back in the 20s. I don't know if it was a typo, and eventually they were like, okay, it's now Marina. But it's been Marina for a long time. But I'll show you. We'll go down here. There's another sign that at some point this was called Marino. But it's been Marina for as long as any of y'all can remember. I know a lot of my viewers have said, I lived in a house along Marina. So one of these would have been your home. But I'll show you. Yeah, so go on the Hapeville channel, go to the search bar on your computer on the Hapeville channel and search, you can either search 576 Marina, or search the word Marina, or search the word Hollywood or starlet. I can't remember the man's name who was the subject. Mamie, you can put in Mamie, M-A-M-I-E, because she used to live here. There's a whole great story about this. But this is why, here is in this little duplex, look at this sign. 574 Marino, not Marina, Marino. So who knows? I'm going to turn around in a minute, but while I'm right here, this is the house that Penny King Stowe lived in. Penny follows us and is from Hapeville. It's in a little better repair than it has been in the last few weeks, but that was her family home. All right, so they're renovating this house, which from what I understand used to be the parish for that church. And what's interesting is in the Hapeville history book, they list out all churches in the history book, but they never listed that one. It's not listed for some reason. This is 561, 565. They decided they didn't want to deal with landscaping anymore, so they put rocks out front. It reminds me of living in the Southwest. That's what they do out in Arizona and the western states. Here's 571. What a beautiful day today, isn't it, you guys? And I needed this walk. I woke up this morning and I said to my husband, good Lord, I have anxiety again. I need to take a walk and ground myself. Good morning, David. Everything looks so beautiful when it's sunny out. This is 579. Now these houses right here, y'all, these style, which are very common. Sorry, it goes out of focus when I point because it focuses on my hand. These houses, this style is very common in Hapeville, and they're called the American small type house. That's literally the architectural name for this kind of house, the American small type house. And the main identifier is that it's only 2 rooms across the front. They can go deep as they want. But an American small type house has 2 rooms across the front. Now these, I'm gonna guess, I just love these steps that go up to it. Penny told me she can remember playing in this area before these were built. These look like they were built in the 50s. That would be my guess. This is 585 Marina Street. I love these. They're just, I'd live there. Now this is Spring Street. These look like they were built in the 90s. Spring Street swings around and then goes back down to North Fulton. And this house has been here for a very long time. I looked up the date and I can't remember, but my guess is that that one survived when they redeveloped this whole corner back in the 90s and put this little, all these little townhomes. They created another road here called Magnolia. I would imagine that house had a lot of neighbors. 590 Marina. So hopefully this is bringing back some memories for some of you. And like I always like to say, if you have any memories from what you see during this walk, big or small, feel free to share them with me. They always lead me to other interesting stories. So this is Magnolia, not an original street. I'm absolutely Magnolia Court. 99% certain this was created for these duplexes. So there you go. And now we are coming up to Stuart Avenue / Dogwood. This is Hapeville Mill. These are some beautiful townhomes that were built here, and there was a post I did a couple weeks ago showing a photograph of what used to be here. A man used to have, I forget his name, but he had a big 12-room house here right on Stuart. And he added to the front of it and created a motel, which most people in recent memory remember the motel as Gino's Motel. A seedy establishment, to say the least, from what I've heard. But now this is Hapeville Mill. Douglas and I spend a lot of time here. This is now Arches Brewing, owned by Jamie and five other people. It's 5 years old now, but they brew their own beer here. And I'm not a beer drinker, but everybody says that the beer is absolutely excellent. So that is Arches Brewing right here. This is where, from what I've been told, Napa Auto Parts used to be, but now Arches Brewing actually has this whole thing. And then S&S Fire Pits, they're getting ready to leave, but they've been there a few years, creating the last fire pit you'll ever need, is what they say. But their business is doing so well, they're going to move out. So this whole thing is owned by Arches, and behind Arches is their beer garden. And that's where Douglas and I started doing our outdoor shows here in Hapeville with our drag characters, Olive and Agatha. Hello, Don Miller. Good morning. So now we're looking north to the curve of Dogwood. And for time immemorial, people have been whipping around that corner and coming south with rampant disregard. People drive really fast down this road, and I've done a lot of research on this road, and it has a sordid past. As I said, before the highways 75 and 85 were cut through, this is how people went south. This was a main thoroughfare, and it took you right through Hapeville, all the way down to Central where you turn left. That church wasn't there at the time. We'll talk about that if I get to it. But this street fascinates me, and especially in the 20s and 30s, I found a lot of newspaper articles about Hapeville having to deal with rum runners coming through here, and speeders. And one of our police chiefs actually lost his life chasing someone down this street back in the late 20s, early 30s. His son was named Coy Wynn, and he worked at Chapman's Drugs for decades. So the Wynn family, Chief Wynn, lost his life. Anyway, it's just fascinating, the history of this stretch of highway. So we're gonna walk down this way now, and I'll show you what it looks like. But back in the day, before the highways came through and people came through here, it would get more and more, there would be more and more businesses as you got closer. Gas stations, service stations. This is Chris's place. It's called All Pro. He does excellent work for very fair prices, and so Douglas and I take our truck there. Somebody opened a massage parlor there a few weeks ago, a couple months ago. It's called the Pink Pearl. Like many little homes, former homes along this stretch, businesses turn over often. Because unfortunately, we're not a destination right now. It would be nice, but people just zip right on by. They zip on by with no intent in stopping. So if you're going to have a business here, it has to be a destination. Another salon. I've never seen a human come in or out of there, but their open sign is on sometimes. Never seen a human come in and out of this business. I don't know that it's still actually real estate, but I never see humans here. This is the building. Many of you will remember this because it's been a dry cleaners for decades and decades and decades, but they closed during the pandemic. And now this is the building that my friend Kate is hoping to acquire for her bike shop, Outback Bikes, which it would be a perfect location. Sorry, the sun is just making it impossible. I'll try to turn around and show it the other way. I don't know what used to be on this lot. More homes, more than likely, but now, wow, it's busy for this early in the morning. This is a Montessori school. And this home is owned by Laura Murphy. I know a bit about this home. My friend Debbie Blair now lives there. She is new to Hapeville and she is happy to be living in this house. But if you flip that sign over, you can see the name of a business that used to be there. It says, I can't read it. But anyway, this house has had quite a history. There was a time back in the 80s, right directly behind it is Whitney, I think it is. I always get confused if it's Whitney. North Whitney is right behind. And the Presbyterian Church is right there. And back in the 80s, the church owned this house and they used it as a senior outreach center. But before that, a local woman named Shirley Ivy, she had her flower shop here. And then before that, back in the 30s and 40s, there was a family that lived here and their names were, there were 4 or 5 boys, hold on. And the one was a football star here in Hapeville. Henry, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. Hi Pamela, glad to have you here. Hi Sandy. Anyway, the Motes, M-O-T-E. The Mote family lived here in the 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Kelly Mote became he was a local football star at Hapeville High School, but then he went on to play nationally. He was in the NFL, if that's what they called it back then. I don't even know. And I forget the team, but Kelly Mote lived here with his brother Henry Mote, who I met a couple years ago when he was 94, and I interviewed him on audio tape. But the Mote brothers lived here a long, long time ago. And then Shirley Ivy was here, and it was her flower shop. Then the church owned it, and it was an outreach center in the 80s, because here in Hapeville in the 1980s, there was a very large senior population. And now it's Laura Murphy's house, and Debbie Blair lives there. I wanted to show you this. We've got 3 of these in town. This is an art box because Hapeville has branded itself a home of the arts. So one of my friends created this art box. She wrote her name on the back. Her name is Misty Lackey. And you can see, I'll show you the side of it. And that's where you can see her art, Misty Lackey Fine Art. She does beautiful artwork. You can see her on Instagram. Here's the front of it. She created this. And we've got 3 of these in Hapeville. They all look different. This was her design. Good morning, Pamela. And what these art boxes are is you open them up and it's free art box, take one, leave one. And so every now and then I'll put my art in here. And I found a couple pieces in here myself. But I particularly like this one because it's so prominent at this time of day because the sun hits it just beautifully. That's right in front of the Montessori school. From what I understand, this right here next to the dry cleaners, I'm going to go back across. I hope you're enjoying the walk this morning. This is a little bit different because it's not a residential area. But from the research I've done, oh, well, and there's a sign. I never noticed the sign before. This used to be a pawn shop. Again, I've been here for 4 years. It says Hapeville Pawn Shop. But I've never seen a human come in or out. The windows are papered shut. But this is Elegant Cleaners. One of the things that I love about this building is look at the door handles. Can we say 1950s, y'all? But I believe it's called Elegant Cleaners in its final years, but I believe that this was Russell's Dry Cleaners. I can't be 100% sure because the vintage picture I found of Russell Dry Cleaner building looked different from this, but it had the same address. So I'm thinking that maybe either Russell Dry Cleaners was somewhere else in town and I'm completely wrong, or it was here and this was a new building, and I do that with air quotes because this looks like it was built quite a long time ago. I would guess the 50s because of these. But I got to go in here a couple weeks ago with my friend who's trying to buy it and walk around. Excuse me. And what's crazy is it's closed and some people left their stuff. All right, so these are two surviving houses along the street, but this is back when the town was new at the turn of the century, the turn of the 20th century. It was just homes like this all the way down. And then when you got to around here, closer to the intersection, it was all businesses, automobile service-oriented businesses. But yeah, you see these two houses, they're similar time period and style of these houses. That used to be all the way up on both sides. That's the one I visited when I was in town to hopefully get your beautiful art. Oh, thank you for doing that, Pam. Lavonda Ivy Gibbs says it was Russell's Dry Cleaners. Thank you. My friend Sharon Russell, Angelique's father owned it. Okay. Well, I have a picture of the building before this one. So this looks like it was probably built in the 50s, but I have a picture of Russell's Dry Cleaners that was there before, and it was a different building altogether. Isn't that cool? All right. So I learned yesterday from the comments on my walk, I forget how we got onto the topic, but a gentleman was telling me that this building on this side in the 60s, I think he said, it used to be Red's, and then Red and Baby Die. That was their names. Everybody had nicknames back then. Hey Red, hey Baby Die. They had a pool hall here, and he says it was on this side, and you'd go in and there'd be a pool. Like, he was very specific. There'd be a pool table right there. But he said that people always went around, parked in the back, and went in the back because they didn't want anybody to see that they were frequenting the pool hall. This started to be renovated right before the pandemic. There's a lot of development happening here in town, and there's one particular developer doing a lot of it, and so they were going to make this their headquarters. They started renovating it. Then the pandemic came, they stopped, and I think they're trying to sell this building. And if I were a rich man, la 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 la, I would buy it. But I'm not. Because boy, would I love to put in my acting school there and a theater space. It would be the perfect place for it. But Papa can't afford that. Oh, so I was going to show you over here. So this is the car dealership, and there's been lots of different ones over the years. The one that people remember the most is Universal Motors. When they built their building here, it had like a tower on it, and it was very dramatic. Then over the years, it became like a Jeep place and a bunch of other places. Now it just sits here completely empty. But one thing that I love, and I'm going to have to get over here close because of the sun, we get murals made here in Hapeville a lot, which I love because it is a home for the arts. So the Hapeville Arts Commission, Main Street Board, they hire people and to create art. Look at it, it's airplanes. And it says Rise Hapeville. And what's lovely is this was created right before the pandemic. Like, it was almost prophetic that we would get a mural that reminds us to rise above it, y'all. Lavonda says, I remember a Ford dealership there. Gotcha. Well, here we are. There's been lots of talk since I've been here about this becoming a market of some sort. Not like a supermarket, but like a food truck slash shipping containers, you know, all that, which would be fantastic. However, it has not come to fruition. Across the way, that building 3421, that was built, I'm not sure when it was built, but as far back as I can go is the 1930s, and it was there. And it was the home of the Fulton County Review, which was a newspaper. And that's where they printed it. And Brown Tyler was the editor there. And he lived in a house that's across from Hapeville High School now. I love the house. It has 4 really big windows across the front. There's a whole story about that too. But Brown Tyler was the the editor here. And I found these great, in the 50s, he would travel often to Cuba, because Cuba was open, of course, at that time. It is now, but anyway, he would go traveling and he would write these articles for the Fulton County Review about his experiences in Cuba. Don Miller says Spartan Lincoln bought this was Spartan Lincoln, and he bought a 1989 Mark 7. Well, I can imagine you being right here and going in there to put your money down. It is now called The Village, in particular the Village Church. Before the I don't know if they still meet in there or not, but the inside that used to be the big repair shop, that's now it's got a stage and lighting and all kinds of stuff, and people will go there for church. So anyway, then later that became Longino and Porter. They were also printers, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think in more recent memory, people have told me that a regional division of McDonald's, somebody owned like 13 McDonald's, including the one here in Hapeville. And that's where their headquarters were. I don't know what's in there now. I've wondered, but I don't know. But back in the 40s and 50s, literally right next to it, there used to be a little brick building there. So cute. I found a picture of it, and I forget what the business is off the top of my head now. I'll have to go pull that picture up again. And then there was a gas station there. There was a gas station here and there. In the 40s into the 50s, there was a Quazit hut, a big Quazit hut right here. And there's a sign that said Quazit Grill. And the reason there were so many businesses around here, and that Quazit hut has been here forever, the reason there were so many auto services businesses and restaurants is because, again, everybody traveling all points south, they'd come, boom, right into Hapeville, and they'd stop at this light right here. And so they would see all of these businesses and be able to patronize these businesses. Yeah, so there was a service station here, I believe. A little brick building was there. Maybe another service station. It's changed so much. Now, I thought I would come over here. This is where the Quazit Grill was. It's all an empty lot now. And somebody told me that there was a time you'd come here and wait for the Greyhound bus too. There used to be a building between this one and this one. People were talking about this yesterday, trying to remember where the shoe repair shop was. When I was showing the picture of the strip of businesses that used to be over on North Fulton by the City Hall, somebody said, wasn't there a shoe shop here? And the other person said, the one with the marble front. And then I was like, oh, I know what they're talking about. This is it. Used to be attached to another building that was here. That used to be a very popular restaurant here in town called Thomas's. In most recent memory, everybody said they had wonderful comfort food there. Don Miller said there was a transmission shop back there in the 80s. Ah, thank you. I think you're talking about over there. Thank you, Don. But I think this fella, whoever he is, I never actually saw his face. I heard he was an Asian gentleman. I always saw his car parked here. And local lore was that he actually lived there. And just only a couple months ago, the open sign stopped being lit up, and I see no sign of him anymore. And it's a mystery. I don't know if he passed away. I don't know if somebody bought this corner. I just don't know. But I've always thought this tiny little strip of a building was fascinating. And it has the original doors on it. Let's look inside. Oh yeah, it's a mess in there, y'all. Can you see? Yeah, whatever was it's gone. I don't know who he was or what happened. There's even shoes on the floor. Good morning, Debbie. I'm snooping in the shoe shop. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh, you guys can't see. Look at the file cabinet there on the right. There it is. Look at that. Oh, this could be something so cute, but I know it's just gonna get torn down. Don says his dad always had his shoes fixed here. Gosh, I love hearing stuff like that. That means your dad actually grabbed this handle, because this is the original door, and your dad went in there. Oh, I meant to ask you, Don, are you related to Dick Miller? I don't think you are, because he told me when I was talking about him, oh, there were other Millers. But I've chatted with Dick Miller before too, who grew up here in Hapeville, but this was 3436. But I mean, the way the town is being developed now, this is major prime property, so somebody got their hands on this. I got to take a picture of that before it goes away. Wow. Here's the side of it. Okay, thanks, Don. Look at that. This is the closest I've ever been to it, because that guy was always here, and I always felt weird about walking onto his property. But when I'm done, I'm going to take pictures just to document this, so when it's gone and I'm an old man giving tours, I'll say, there used to be a shoe repair shop here, and Don Miller's papa used to go get his shoes fixed. That's my old man voice. But right where I'm standing, there was a service station here. This strip I know nothing about. I can't find any old pictures. I have found one old picture of that place, and I know of a lot of different shops that it used to be. An appliance shop. Back in the 40s, a woman owned it, and she sold boats and appliances. And this gas station that everybody, I'm sure, has a connection to, because the local family owned that one as well as the one on the other side. That is now a T-Mobile. But all of this, up these two buildings, the Quonset hut in the back, and the house that I showed you that Debbie Miller lives, that's all owned by a local woman named Laura Murphy. But I don't know anything about these or what used to be in them yet. It's just never popped up on my radar. Sherry says Thomas Restaurant was right next door. Yes, it was, right there. Right there, Sherry. I hear they had excellent comfort food. Luckily, I've been here 4 years, and they just painted this like 2 months ago. And I was like, oh, okay, something's going on. You always get excited. Something's going on. But this was Thomas Restaurant. And from what I understood, the man who operated and owned the shoe repair, he owned this as well. But I'm thinking it all got sold, y'all. So the way this town's developing, something's gonna happen here. And here's the other, oh, it's hard to see because of the sun. It's painted bright blue. It's called Island Vibes Caribbean Grill. But these were prime spots back in the day when Hapeville was booming in the 50s and 60s. And this was still a main thoroughfare of people coming through. They'd have to stop here, so why not get gas here? Why not get gas or new tires or get your oil changed here? And these were all, over the years, owned by different local families, but People tell me all the time, oh, I remember when Mr. Such and Such owned this place. I can't remember his name. It has an R in it. Who built this place, I think. But this is what the intersection looks like now. I like all the color, and I've always enjoyed this building. I've found lots of old pictures of it, and it's really cool. Now, what's interesting about where we're standing right now is back in the day, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, what would happen is, I found a really cool story about this. I think I shared it on the Hapeville channel, is students from Georgia Tech would come down. They'd ride the bus down or have a friend bring them down. I'm not sure which. But they would stand at this intersection. I imagine like right there, but it could have been here. And they'd stand in groups, these young college boys who would be on either spring break, summer break, Christmas break, and they'd want to go south to visit their families. So there's this photograph from the Atlanta Journal of all these young boys in the 30s, the late 30s, college kids standing here at this intersection with their thumbs out, hitching a ride at this very intersection to see how far south they could get. So this is the intersection of North Central, South Central. Now, a lot of you who've been gone for a while, you're probably like, what the heck is that church doing there? Well, up until 2000, that church is Hapeville's Christ Church, the oldest church in town. It was built in 1895, but it was only a church for about 12 to 15 years, and it used to sit over where the airport is now. It used to sit at the intersection of College Street and... oh God, not College Street, sorry. Union and Georgia Avenue. Union? Nope, that's wrong too. I can picture the corner, but I always forget it. It is Georgia and the road that runs down the west side of College Street School. What the heck was that? Anyway, that intersection over there, that's where the church originally was. Back in the 80s, the Hapeville Historical Society formed, and their first project was to buy it and move it. And what they did was they moved it over to the end of the Hapeville Depot Museum. And it was there from 1986 in what's now Depot Plaza. It sat there from 1986 to about 2010. And they realized that the passing train was shaking the building and causing structural damage. So they had to raise a bunch of money and move it again. And so they moved it here to a very visible spot in what is now called Jess Lucas Park on the very west end of it. So you see it when you come into town. And now it's used as an event space. Yes, the new brick sidewalks are lovely. Do you see those? They were putting those in when I moved here in 2018. And they go all the way down. Yep. So you go that way, you're going to East Point and College Park. And you go that way, you're going downtown. So we're going to go this way because I parked in the municipal parking lot. And I figured I'd go this way. You get a better view of what used to be the service station here. And a lot of folks don't know this, but if you go way, way back, you remember that there's a Presbyterian church over on North Whitney? That church, not that building, but that church used to be right here. And they moved it in the early teens or very early 20s. They moved it from here because they could see what was happening with this becoming a business district. They moved it from here to over there. They actually tore the original wooden one down and built the new one that's over on North Whitney that a lot of you would remember. And then it became a commercial space. So here we are, we're going by Woodco, which is a transmission building, but this was built as a grocery store, and this must have been a big deal back in Hapeville's day at this time to have a grocery store this big. Now we look at it and we think, that's small, but this side was a grocery store, and I think it opened as a colonial. It had a big rooster on it, and then they moved down the street, and then this was a drugstore, this end. And I'd have to look up the picture, but I forget the name of it. It was a man's name, like Randy's or something. I can't remember. But this was Now you can see they repair trucks in there. They put bay doors on the side. But this was right here in downtown Hapeville. This was a drugstore and a grocery store. And there's the museum, the Depot Museum, the train station. And as I mentioned yesterday, when Hapeville was mapped out in 1891, not mapped out, it actually was chartered in 1891, but it was mapped out as a town 15 years before that. This was the very center of town, and they mapped a mile in each direction from here. And so that building was literally the center of Hapeville at the beginning of this town's history. So this is now 2000 AD, which is it says Concepts in Floral Art. Al and Tim own this business, and it's a beautiful home goods, florist business, gardening. It's beautiful. This just opened. It's called the Honeypot. It's energy and art. You can get incense and stones and African art. It's absolutely beautiful store. Douglas and I go in there often since it opened. For a long time, well, for the 4 years we were here, this was a realty office. So I'm glad to see that it's now a store. And what I love here is when it was a realty office, they had these hanging up with all the properties on them. But now it has photographs of prominent people of color. John Lewis. And I love to see it. I love to see it. So that's the Honeypot. This is Bliss Nail Spa. I've never been in there because I don't get my nails did. I have been in here. This is Buttersweet Bakery. Delicious baked goods. I went in here once. Thai Heaven. Didn't find it heavenly. But there you go. So here in this spot, Don Miller, that's why I asked you if you knew who Dick Miller was. This used to be, and I'm sure you remember it, in this spot there was a clothing store called Miller's, and it was Dick Miller's father who owned it. And I think after Dick Miller closed it, it sat here empty, and then eventually it collapsed. The building collapsed. So now it's just an empty little lot. But what I love is when it happened, it was discovered, because the buildings touched right, to this one, next to this building, they were connected. When this building was torn down, they found an old ad for Polarine oils and greases. So they hired a local muralist to bring it back to life. His name is Christian, and he did this in, John Christian is his name. He did this in 2019 as part of the Georgia Mural Trail. And so he researched and put it back as closely as he could to the original Polarine, and I just think that's so great. But this is where Miller's clothing store sat, this empty lot. Then, of course, this has been a lot of different stores. This was I found a picture from the 80s. A lady sold women's clothing in here. It was called the Doll Hut. Before that, I can't remember. You guys could tell me, but it's been many different things. And then, of course, Chapman's, y'all. Everybody knows Chapman's. And I'll swing around so you can see the banner. But in July of this year, 2021, Chapman celebrated its 100th year. It opened in 1921, and it's run by Derek Chapman now, 100 years later, fourth generation. Before him, it was, there was a Donald Chapman. I think that was his father. Donald's father was Rayburn. So maybe it was 3 generations. I feel like there was one before Rayburn, but maybe not. Don said, did he have a brother named Skippy? I don't know. I'd have to ask him. And we're in front of the oldest building in Hapeville, the oldest brick building, the Masonic Temple. Now here, a lot of people remember that J.J. Allen used to have his photography business here. I was chatting with somebody about it this morning on Facebook. This is where J.J. Allen had his Flair Photography. Flair Photography was here, and every year you could look in the Hapeville High School yearbook and see a photograph of the Flair girl, which was a brilliant promotional thing that he did. Rather than just put an advertisement in the Hapeville High School annual, he would take a picture of a pretty girl and put it in there and congratulate the seniors, and she would be called a Flair girl. Here's another view of the depot. Some of you may not know it, but this portion, the back portion, that was added in 1946 when Ford Motor Company came to town. More freight was coming through, so we needed to add more space. And so the depot was originally this big, and then they added on to it. And this was the original bank in Hapeville. It was called the Bank of Hapeville. It opened in 1911. For many, many years, it was Hateville Drug, which I always thought was interesting that there was Hateville Drug here. One door away was Chapman's Drugs. And there's a mural on the side commemorating Hateville Drugs. Hateville Drug Company since 1907, it says. All right, well, I'm almost back to the Municipal Lot. And because the sun is in the way over there, I'm not going to walk the rest of the street. I took a picture of this yesterday just because I love how this looks. All the levels and all the textures. But I want to thank all of you for taking the walk with me this morning. It was helpful to me. And I hope you enjoyed it. Before I go, I'll just remind you there used to be businesses right here. But they tore all those businesses down. I think this is where Gene Norton was telling me maybe Pace and Weldon used to be, an electric company. I know that back in the 20s and 30s, there was an ice house here. And this is where locals would come to get their ice. I found that on an old map, long time ago. And I think before I go, I'll just show you where they've moved the historical marker for the town, and then I'll close out after showing that to you because my car's right over there. There's the recreation center, fire station. Somebody wrote to me not too long ago and said, oh, that pecan tree that's out in the front, I'm so glad to still see it. My father was a fireman and he planted it there. I wish I could remember every little tidbit of information and who gave it to me and all that, but I just would go crazy if I tried to write it all down and capture it. I just can't, so I can only tell you in general. Somebody's dad planted that pecan tree, and there it still is. Everybody has their stories in connection to Hapeville. And there it is. Historical marker. It says it was erected by the Hapeville Women's Club. Doesn't say when, but it's been, 1971. And there you have it. Pam says, thank you, Dewey. It's so nice being able to see my hometown. You're the best. I'm glad you enjoy it. It gives me something to do when I wake up in the morning. Douglas and I work for ourselves, and so our life hours are our own, and we can go at our own pace. And I usually get out of bed in the morning, and I always feel like go. What do I do? And he stays in bed longer than me. So that's why I try to get up, especially while it's still warm, and do these walks because I enjoy it, and it seems that other people enjoy it as well. Don says, did anyone tell you the public library was in the corner of the rec center? They indeed, they have told me many times. I love that is remembered. I'm looking over at that space right now. I went inside to explore it, and it is now offices and has been for decades. But yes, that was the library before for the school. Like Hapeville High School didn't even have a library at the beginning, and if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. I think it served as the library for the school as well as for the city, if I'm not mistaken. I know the rec center served as a gym for the school until they added a gym on in the school. 1949, I think it was. You're welcome, David, and thanks for joining me, you guys. Hapeville is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful day here today. I think I'm gonna go home and create some art and maybe put some in the art boxes. Oh, I forgot to show you the other art box over there. But anyway, wherever you are, think fondly of Hapeville. It's still here. It's a little different, but your memories are still here, and I enjoy uncovering what I can uncover and learn what I can learn while I'm here. You all create yourself a great day. Bye.